Considering the sexy scenes he's read, totally 18 plus. Don't you know who you're talking to?
Daddy. Strength to hold in what is trying to get out. Okay. Temptation.
He lowers himself down between my legs and watches me closely as he pushes himself inside me. I cry out, moaning with pleasure, uncaring how feral and out of control I sound. Kyle moves slowly at first, kissing me so softly that I feel like I might explode. Then he pulls back and slams into me hard.
I shall save you all from spiders. I'm an expert trapper and releaser. That's so sweet that you release them. I murder them.
All right. Hello. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Stern, good to see you. Meek, thank you for the lurk. Appreciate it. Another weekend. Hi, Stop Mama's Mama. The next hit, one-shot hit on the radio. It's going to be that song. Another weekend coming to a close. It's crazy. Oh, gosh. And here we go again. Typical yawns. Good grief. Like I haven't been yapping all day. It's fine. How's everybody's weekend been? Anybody get up to anything exciting? Let's see. Yesterday was Saturday. What did we do yesterday? I know things happened, but my brain is drawing a blank. Anyway, I know today I played drums this morning at my church. My kiddo had a kind of a play date, if you will, at one of those trampoline parks that's in our town. And then he had a birthday party to go to in the afternoon. And then he was even invited to another play date after or while that birthday party was going on, but he couldn't really go to that. So it's just been kind of non-stop today. You know what? This is ridiculous. I'm going to hydrate. We had wonderful weather, worked outside. Today, rainy and chilly. I sang on the praise team this morning at church. Fantastic. It was a little cooler here today as well. It wasn't raining, but it was definitely cloudy and like low 60, which as of late we've been getting like 80s to 90. So it was a big difference. In fact, I'm going to see how this goes. Normally I have to have the window that's to my right closed with the blind down and then this extra curtain that I have. It's not quite blackout, but it helps block out some extra sun so that my lights can hit the green screen properly and all that. I'm trying it out because I need the airflow, right? We don't have the air on because it's not warm enough for the air. 65 degrees right now. So I've got the window open, which is not normal for me. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. Just hope it keeps me cool. Gotta try. Hey, Kay. How are you? Oh, how's it going? We were just talking about our weekends, what we all got up to. Oh. That's right. Saturday was my kid's last soccer game for the season. And he had stayed with grandparents leading up to that. So they came up on Saturday late morning, bringing him back. And then we did a soccer game in the afternoon. So yeah, that was fun. Started book 2 today. Woo. That's exciting. Good for you. That's great. Oh my gosh. I'm fine, I swear. I am okay. I'm probably not okay, but that's neither here or there. Did you have a wonderful date night? We did. We had a good night. It was nice to get dressed up again, you know? Don't do that too often. And it was nice. Of course, we went to the grocery store right afterwards. Because, you know, adulting. But it was nice to get dressed up. We went out to a place that we hadn't been to before, although we kept talking about it, but it wasn't really a place that we would want to take our kiddo. My goodness. So we took the opportunity. It was nice food, nice view of the river, and then did the grocery thing. And then as soon as we got home, just took it all off because back into comfy clothes. You two an adorable couple. Thank you. We try. Most of the time it's like shorts and t-shirt and, you know, whatever's clean. And we just roll with it. Like most people, I imagine. But yeah, it was nice to get dressed up. You know, put a little effort in. Make a thing out of it, you know? It was good. Oh, man. I gotta get these yawns out of my system. Come on. My eyes watering, probably because of allergies. So that's cool. Here's your puzzle for tonight, by the way. Okay, you'll be happy to know that Stump Mama's mama played that all by herself when she showed up. It's true. She didn't need any coercion. She just did it. Yeah, so here's your puzzle. I chose another cool housing building type setting. Thought it'd be fun. 450 pieces, I believe, is what I chose. So, enjoy that if you want to do a puzzle. Oh. Just trying to think if there's anything else pressing that we should discuss before we get into it. Oh, it's out for a couple of weeks, so I don't have my calendar in front of me. Not this Thursday, but the one after, I think. I will not be here. I gotta get my calendar out, double check. Yeah, so not Thursday the 15th. The 15th is fine. But Thursday the 22nd, we will be out of town. We're taking a couple days to just go away, have a good time. Enjoy a quick family getaway, if you will. We leave Wednesday afternoon. Gosh. And we'll be back like Friday or Saturday. I forget which one. But so yeah, Thursday stream on the 22nd, I will not be here for that. So you'll just have to wait. I don't know where we'll be at in the book by then, but I'm sure it'll be a good reunion once we get back to it. Speaking of books, Adicard, what's up? How are you? I'm good, thank you. How are you? I can't stop yawning, so that's a thing, and my eye keeps watering, which is a second thing. Very, very annoying. But you know, we're dealing. I still have this annoying shoe thing on my foot to help with walking without pain. That's just been fantastic. Really love that. Love that. Yeah, I like to say the name on screen just because sometimes people aren't comfortable with their actual name being said out loud. So I just play it safe. And Darth Vader's in the house, or his eyes are. He's got his eye on us. He's watching, waiting. Hi, Darth. Oh, it's not your actual name, though. Oh. Okay. Well, then I am all kinds of confused. Dorothy, good to see you, sir. Hope you're well. Oh. I think we're doing okay. I think we're getting there. All right. Let me switch over to our reading page. Oh, I see. Okay. I obviously missed the connection there. Adam 3 used to be the name. Now it's Adicard. Okay. I mean, I'm still going to use Adicard because that's what's on the screen, but I will try to keep that locked up in my brain. Just watching a film. What are you watching? I love movies, films. Oh, gosh. Poof, there we go. A Million Ways to Die in the West. That does not ring any bells for me. Yeah. Can't say that one's familiar. But I hope you like it. That's a lot of ways, by the way. Must be a very long movie. All right, where did we leave off in our book? Right. You've heard of it, but have not seen it. Okay. Yeah, I feel like there was also like a weird TV show at one point years ago that was like the 10 worst ways to die or something. I don't know. Maybe I might be messing up the title, but I think that's what it reminded me of initially. It's a comedy. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I've heard about it, but yeah, I don't know. Okay. By Seth MacFarlane. Well, that's not a surprise. If it's comedy, then. Okay. So like I said, I've got the window open. If the green screen gets too wavy and it messes with the lighting, or if we get a bunch of outside noise that we don't want to hear, I will take care of it. But until then, we shall crack on like nothing ever happened. And with that, I say we get into the book. Oh, let me put the link in chat. Purple. Tier 2 for 18 months. My goodness. Thank you, Purple. How the heck are ya? That was great timing. We were just about to read. And since that's a tier 2, we'll make that 10 push-ups. Stern made that suggestion last time. I didn't forget it, and I think that's a great idea. Are you watching the same movie as Darth by chance? No Jennifer tonight? You know, I'm not sure where she's at. Let me see if I can send her a quick message just to let her know we're starting. She may have very well forgotten. Okay. Message sent. Almost dropped my bookmark. I almost knocked my mouse, so I'm going to move that. So you and Darth are watching the same movie. Lovely. Okay, we'll enjoy that movie. This book is too good to forget, but she wrote it, so it probably doesn't have the same effect. Yeah, you're right there. Oh, just popped my neck. That felt wonderful. Okay. As I was saying before, we're on chapter 9, page 75 in the printed version. And we basically left off last time with Jezebel speaking to the tarot card lady. And she was like, oh yeah, I know August. I've met him. And, you know, he's a good guy, kind of thing. Etc., etc. And those dreams you were having and that vision you had could have been his late wife. So, or Raven was her name, yeah. So let's see what happens in chapter 9. After my encounter with Raven, I was left with a buoyancy and awareness I hadn't felt since August left. I had found a tiny lifeline that connected me to him somehow, and in doing so, I also discovered a friend. For in the weeks after we first spoke, I went to Raven's trailer often, always at the closing of the day when sunlight flickered against the waves. She joked about her inability to cook, so I brought her dinners. Warm food wrapped in tinfoil that I made for her in my kitchen with my mother's worn cookbook propped up on the counter, dog-eared and dusted with flour. We walked along the beach together one evening, our shoes cast aside on the dock, shrugging off the day around us as we dove into the mysterious world of occultism. She had an awareness and a knowledge of reality I was only beginning to grasp. I'm so glad I met you, Raven. I sat beside her on the sand, watching the waves softly lick at our feet. She placed her hand gently on my knee. And I am as well. My lifestyle can get a bit lonely at times, being a gypsy and all, she said with a playful wink. Wait. Oh, you have no idea what it's been like for me, to not be able to share what happened between August and me. There were moments when I thought I was losing my mind, that he just had been some illusion. Raven glanced at me, a small smile upon her face. Well, everything around us is an illusion, really. She swept her hand across the beach. This world that we exist in is only a tiny fragment of a much larger and more powerful force around us. We are just like these tiny ants scurrying about. She pointed to the ground where some ants were searching for crumbs among the sand. They have no idea what is up there above them, and so they never think to look up. I stared out over the water, feeling the push and pull of the tide around me like a magnet. I have to see him again, Raven. I still don't fully understand why he left. She nodded solemnly, gazing out to the ocean. I think he still carries so much pain inside from the loss of his wife, and opening himself up to you was a visceral reminder of that. She looked at me, lazy sunlight glinting off her hair. But I believe you will see him again, Jezebel. You know, I have wondered why he didn't clear you when he left. Clear me? I asked. Yes. After an embrace, or in your case a series of them, we usually get cleared. A simple swipe above the temple and memories of the encounter become erased, so that we may resume our life without being consumed by the enormity of it all. It is clear to me that he didn't want to lose what you had together. Whatever the two of you shared, clearly went far beyond a simple embrace, and I do not think this story is over between you two. Raven's words hit me with a force. I had wondered so many times, in anger and sorrow, why. Why had he just left me like that? Left me to scramble around and pick up the broken pieces of myself. But what if Raven was right? What if I would see him again one day? Despite my tender heart, the idea filled me with a dangerous rush of joy. The thought of him returning was like the promise of a rare and wonderful gift. I sighed and cupped the soft sand in my hands, letting the warmth of it trickle down between my fingers as I allowed the familiar resonancy of my doubt to creep in. Sometimes I wonder, though, since I happen to share his wife's name, that maybe he was just trying to invoke her again by being with me? Raven shook her head. No, he's not delusional. He knows his wife is gone. I think what you are to him is much deeper than being a simple replacement for her. I feel a very strong connection between you two. We both shared a moment of stillness, watching as the waves gathered the last colors from the sky and spilled them onto the shore. Raven turned to me, her eyes seeking mine in the growing dark. Do you mind if I ask what it felt like to be with a man like August? My pulse quickened at the mere thought of him and his brightly burning intensity. How he had broken open parts of me I never even knew existed. Words can't really describe it, I said. It was mind-blowing and powerful. I felt things with him I've never experienced before. Wow. Raven seemed to capture my emotion with her eyes. You have been deeply blessed, Jezebel. And there's Jennifer. Hello, author. How you doing? How was your garden? Did you tend to the plants accordingly? We have a longer break in the story at this point. So little swirlies instead of the dots. Or little stars, technically. Autumn had slowed her twirling dance to make room for winter's cold embrace, with crisp mornings and frost that clung like tiny crystals. I stood on the pier, watching Raven as she packed up her trailer. "I'm gonna miss you," I said. "And I shall miss you. I wish I could stay a bit longer, but my family awaits me down in Catskills. It's time for some hibernation and soul renewal." They were demanding water. I bet they were. She placed the last of her bags in the front seat of her truck before turning to me and slipping a clear bottle of liquid into my hands. "What's this?" I asked. "It is mead, made from an ancient fairy meadow." "Seriously?" I stared at her quizzically. She laughed and threw me a playful wink. "No, silly. But it was made by some very lovely monks up at this beautiful monastery I visited in New Mexico last year." She then pressed a piece of paper into my hand. "This is my number. If you're ever feeling stir-crazy up here this winter, give me a call." "I will." I smiled at her. "I look forward to seeing you next summer." "Yep, same place, same time." Her bright eyes looked deep into mine, placing her hands on my shoulders. "I'm so glad I found you, Jezebel. I truly believe we were destined to meet." I nodded and drew her into a long hug. "I know we were. Thank you so much for everything." She hopped into her truck and started the engine. White clouds billowed out from the exhaust and into the frigid morning air. Rolling down the window, she called out to me as she pulled out onto the road. "Take care of yourself, okay?" Her taillights slowly faded off into the distance, and I was left alone again, to sit with all this truth laid out before me. A truth that, for the first time in months, left me with a sense of hope. Like a tiny bud growing among the barren landscape of my loneliness, whispering of spring's dependable renewal. Another long break in the story. Winter seemed particularly angry this year. The cold slap of the wind would hit me whenever I stepped outside. My runs along the beach became longer, in a feverish attempt to outpace my own solitude. I welcomed the bitter sting, for it redirected my thoughts and hollowed out my longing. The holidays crept by, and the town around me came alive with cheerful lights, optimistic greetings, and the persistent push for consumerism. While my employees took their vacation leave to visit family, I spent Christmas alone like I always did, with no one to distract me from the painful reminder of my own isolation. It was in these moments that the absence of my parents would hit me with a brutal force, a wound I knew no amount of time could ever completely heal. Gathering a blanket, I would head down to the darkened beach with a bottle of wine in my hand, allowing the deep red liquid to tug out the sorrow that I had managed to keep tightly locked away for most of the year. There, I would lay it out, trembling and exposed upon the sand, with nothing but the wind and the roaring sea as my witness. Every morning when I awoke, my frantic heart clung to the possibility that today would be the day he would return to me. But it never was. He never came, and I knew I had to find a way to move on. And now we have a short break. As winter graciously handed itself over to warmer days, I realized that it had been over a year since August had disappeared from my life, and although the fever of him would still wash over me on occasion, the predictability of time had stepped in, allowing me to rebuild my foundation once more. The pieces of myself were coming back to me, but this time they were more vibrant and alive, instead of the familiar shards of my own self-negation. It was as if something had awakened within me, a part that had lain dormant all my life. Like a hungry serpent, I was uncoiling myself, shedding my skin to reveal new growth among the verdant swell of spring, like a whisper of color among my palette of gray. Which, a couple of chapters ago, was 50 Shades of Grey. Right. So that was the end of Chapter 9. Which I think tagged along very nicely with Chapter 8. It was kind of like a good way to say goodbye to Raven, the gypsy, at least for now. And kind of help some time move along. Otherwise, I feel like it would have been a bit too abrupt to go, I talked with Raven, and then she left. I learned some things, and then we said goodbye. Okay. We're on chapter 10, page 80 in our book. Let's see how it goes. I sat finishing paperwork in my office late one Friday afternoon, with the front door propped open to let in the warm spring air. The smell of sweet violets filtered in, thick and cloying around me. My employee, Jules, had stopped by the office to pick up her paycheck. She casually leaned her tall, thin frame against the open doorway. So, a bunch of us are meeting up tonight to check out the new bar that's open down the street. I hear it is a notch above the local tavern. Uh-huh, I absent-mindedly replied, while I sat at my desk finishing the week's invoices. You should come, Jezebel. My brother will be there. She shot me a mischievous smile, her brown eyes sparkling. Jules had been hinting at us meeting for a while now. Apparently, he was a construction worker, staying in town for a few months on a job. And according to her, she thought we would really hit it off. I looked up at her and sighed. Jules, oh, come on, please. Let's shake off some winter funk. I let the idea settle around me. While I wasn't looking to hit it off with anyone these days, at the same time I wondered, could I dispel some of my longing in the arms of another man? I'll think about it, okay? I threw a strained smile at her as she left the office. Great. I'll see you at 8:30 then. She called confidently over her shoulder, her short brown hair bouncing as she slipped out the door. Small break in the story. Or short break. It's not. Size it doesn't matter. There's a break and it's short. As I entered the bar, my skin prickled with heat as the press of bodies created a warm, den-like atmosphere around me. Mahogany tables lay throughout the low-lit room, the interior accentuated by plastic ferns and a half-hearted attempt at providing a little class to the local drinking scene. I spotted Jules and a few other people cloistered in the far corner. I weaved my way through the crowd, the red dress I had boldly slipped on that evening clinging to me like a bandage. Jezebel, you made it! Jules called out enthusiastically, waving me over. The loud scraping of chairs filled my ears as everyone made room for me. "Hey, boss." She threw me a playful wink. "So glad you could come." I smiled faintly and looked over at the attractive blonde man who sat next to Jules, his face partially obscured by a well-trimmed beard with faint hues of red that caught the light. "Jezebel, this is my brother, Patrick." "It's so nice to finally meet you," he said, standing up and extending his hand out to me. "My sister's been talking a lot about you." His smile was large, friendly, and welcoming. His brown eyes grazed over me like an easy invitation, and in that moment, I wanted to take it. The conversation flowed, and the warmth from my drink began to wrap itself around me like a blanket. Patrick talked of his job and his adventures on the road with animated enthusiasm and effortless laughter, and I found myself enjoying his company. His presence stilled the noise in my mind. As the night died down and everyone started to filter out of the bar, Patrick offered to walk me to my car. A surprisingly warm breeze blew against us as we walked through the dimly lit streetlights together. "It was really nice talking with you, Jezebel. I had a great time tonight." "Yeah?" I leaned against my car and pierced him with my steady gaze as the soft tone of the waves in the distance pummeled the shore. "Then why don't you come over to my place?" It wasn't a question. It was a challenge. I needed to feel consumed, hollowed out, obliterated. I wanted to try and erase the stain August had left on my skin. Patrick looked at me in surprise. "You're bold, but I like it." "Then get in," I said, motioning to the front seat. Well then. Poor guy's being used. Such a shame. Small break in the story. Here we go. His breath fell on my neck as I unlocked the door to my apartment, his hands gripping my waist tightly. "God, you're so hot," he said into my hair. Walking into the living room, I brazenly slipped off my dress, leaving it on the floor as I retreated into the bedroom. My insecurity replaced by a restless longing to lose myself. He followed behind me, his dark eyes flickering with heat as he watched me remove my underwear and bra and then lay myself on the bed, waiting for him to join me. I watched him in mild amusement as he undressed. He fumbled with his clothes, his erection straining against his underwear. I realized he was nervous. "Come here," I said, patting the bed next to me. The mattress shifted to accommodate his body next to mine, and I straddled his waist, rocking myself slowly against him. He moaned and grabbed my thighs while I leaned down to meet his lips, waiting for the warm rush of desire to spill over me. But as I kissed him with his rough beard that tickled my lips, nothing came. I kissed him harder, pushing myself deeper against him, frantically rubbing my tender flesh against his, waiting desperately for a spark to ignite within me. "Oh, jeez, you can make me come if you keep doing that." Smiling, I rolled off him, reaching to grab a condom out of my drawer. I quickly slipped it over his length and pulled him on top of me. It took me a moment to guide him in, my body slow to respond. As Patrick began to move inside me, I hastily matched the rhythm of his movements, willing my desire to stir, my fingernails gripping his back. "Harder," I said. His thrusts grew deeper and faster, and I could hear him panting on top of me. his face contorted into some version of his own private pleasure, while all I felt was empty. The depths I longed to fill inside me, this man could not begin to reach. Filled with an aching loneliness, tears fell silently down my cheeks as I heard him call out and shudder above me. Patrick noticed my tears, and concern flashed across his face. "Are you all right?" I rolled out from under him and sat up. "I'm fine," I said. "You don't seem fine. Did I do something wrong?" "No, Patrick. I just think it's time for you to go. I'm sorry." "Are you sure I didn't hurt you? Was I too rough?" he asked, sliding over to me and placing his hand on my knee. Sitting rigid on the edge of the bed, I stared down at my hands, which were clasped tightly in my lap. "No. You are fine. This has nothing to do with you, okay? I just need to be alone right now." Patrick nodded and got up and grabbed his clothes, his quick retreat filling the room. The hasty rustle of fabric, the sound of the front door shutting behind him, and then the powerful silence that followed. Well then. I slipped my body under the sheets as a myriad of emotions pulled at me. Sorrow, frustration, and shame all tangled together. I gripped my pillow as loud, choking sobs emanated from within me, slowly sinking into the yawning abyss of a deep, penetrating sleep, one that carried me across the divide to him. Laying upon the earth, the feel of moss was cool against my skin. A thick canopy of trees towered above me, partially obscuring the blue of the sky. The air was pungent with the aroma of pine. August always came to me in dreams this way, like Pan in the forest. I whispered his name, and the wind blew it across the trees like a shiver. His hands brushed against my skin before he appeared before me, trailing slowly down to where my longing lay waiting for him. His face gradually materialized before me, dark blue eyes that stole into my depths. He never spoke in my dreams. Like the keys of his piano, it was his fingers that traced out a language upon my flesh. As he slipped them inside me, water began to pour out, a gushing river that flowed onto the ground and spread throughout the forest floor. I awoke then, gasping with pleasure, while the last few ripples of my orgasm gently subsided. Apparently all she has to do is get a good night's sleep, and that'll do it. Hi, Paige. How are you? It's good to see you. Don't we all? Yep. I slept horribly. Was it yesterday? I think it was. Yeah, last night. Just not very good sleep at all. But anyway, it's fine. How's the feet? Still sore. Thank you for asking. But we're making do. We are doing our best with what we've got. After that lovely dream, there is a longer break. As you should. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ugh. Standing beside my car, I took in the construction site around me. Framed buildings in various stages of completion dotted the surrounding cliffs like weeds. The late afternoon sun sparkled upon the churning sea below me as I spotted Patrick, walking to his truck with a sturdy gait, hard hat swinging in his hand. "Patrick!" I called out, making my way toward him. He spun around, and at the sound of his name, turning to me with a quizzical look. "Jezebel? What are you doing here?" "I just wanted to apologize for what happened the other night." He ran his hand through his hair sheepishly, giving me a lopsided smile. "I had a nice time with you, and I really didn't mean for you to feel..." I trailed off for a moment, nervously shoving my hands deep into my pockets of my sweater, trying to gather my thoughts. I realized I had not rehearsed this, having driven up here to see his work site on a whim, hoping to dispel the gnawing feeling of guilt within me. "Hey." Patrick placed his hand on my arm, and I looked up into his calm, brown eyes. "It's okay. I understand. Well, I guess I don't really, but I would like to." I sighed in relief as the wind of the ocean suddenly picked up around us, blowing my hair into my face. "I honestly didn't expect to see you again, but I'm really glad that you showed up here, Jezebel. I would like to try, and maybe start over. There's this nice restaurant in town that I would love to take you to, if you're interested." Patrick's sweet invitation stirred something within me that I had a faint longing to explore. But at the same time, I felt reluctance. The memory of our night together still made me cringe with regret. I knew it had been foolish of me to think that Patrick could eradicate my longing for August. Seeming to sense my hesitation, he held his hands up in a playful gesture of innocence. "Strictly as friends, if you'd like. No strings attached." A warm smile crept across my face. "Okay, that sounds nice." "Great." Patrick's face stretched into a wide grin as he fished his keys out of his pocket. "How does tomorrow at 6 sound? I could pick you up at your place?" And that takes us to another break in the story. I wonder if this dinner date will stay friendly, or if something else will happen. Zarias, what's up? Well, that was interesting. That wasn't supposed to happen. Hold on. I was messing with this the other day. Obviously, I messed something up. Yep, I see it now. Okay. Hey Zarias, what's up? Okay, I fixed it, I think. All it takes is one wrong click and everything goes kaput. Good to see you, sir. Enjoy the puzzle. Right, so he's picking her up at about 6 o'clock, and then we have a break in the story. So let's see what happens. We sat across from each other. Wine glasses rested on starched white linen, nestled within a quiet corner of the restaurant as the expansive view of the ocean stretched out before us. So, my sister mentioned that you're not from around here. What was it brought you to this sleepy little town? Patrick asked, his lips hovering over his drink. I twirled the stem of my wine glass as I spoke. Well, I grew up in Brighton, where I spent too many years stuck in a dead-end job as a payroll clerk in biotech. It was a great company, but I was tired of living on other people's terms. I wanted to reinvent myself, so I saved up enough money to jumpstart my own business. I guess I was looking for somewhere quiet, and I've always loved the ocean. Well, he said with a wink. Looks like you found plenty of both here. The evening passed effortlessly between us. Patrick spoke of his past. He was a rough and tumble Midwestern boy who had grown up on a ranch. He regaled me with stories of his and Jules's wholesome childhood, filled with endless waving grass of the prairie and a family full of laughter. There was a lightness and ease to him that I could see myself sinking into. So you haven't settled down yet? I asked, emptying out the remainder of the wine bottle between us. Our plates of food cleared away long ago. Out the window, the last of the sunset lingered in the sky, faint wisps of color developing into a soft midnight blue. I guess I have yet to find someone worth settling down for. Patrick pinned me with a contemplative look, and I detected a faint hint of a question there, almost as if he were offering me up to challenge. I found myself averting my eyes, suddenly uncomfortable with the forwardness of his gaze. Your life does sound pretty exciting, though. I shot him a teasing glance, attempting to lighten the moment between us. I mean, you get to travel around and see the country, meet new people, sow your wild oats. Hey now, Patrick said playfully, leaning across the table and placing his hand on mine, giving it a gentle squeeze. I am a perfect gentleman. It was you that seduced me, remember? Heat rose to my cheeks, but I didn't pull away. The warmth from his touch was surprisingly soothing. Yeah, I guess you're right. That was really out of character for me, by the way. Patrick gave me a soft smile. Yes, I gathered that. Surf man, what's up, dude? How you doing? Looks like we have another small break in the story. About a page left, and I think, yep, that ends our chapter. So we'll finish up this page, and then we'll do some shout-outs. Pulling up to my apartment, Patrick cut the engine and turned to me in the darkened interior of the car. Shall I walk you in? I shook my head. No, I'll be fine. I rested my hand on Patrick's knee for a moment. Thank you for tonight. It was really nice. It was, wasn't it? He grinned and leaned back in his seat. So, I only have a few more months on the job, but I would really like to see you again. A hesitancy seemed to fill up the space between us as I grappled with my response, unsure as to what compartment I could fit him into. My loneliness had become my constant companion, and Patrick felt like a breath of fresh air, cleansing the heaviness away. Was there room for him? Can I ask you something? Sure. Patrick's gaze grew serious as he looked at me. What is exactly that you hope to get out of this? He sighed, running his fingers through his hair. I don't expect anything from you, Jezebel. I just enjoy your company. I smiled, and found myself reaching over to brush away a strand that had fallen into his eyes. You're sweet, you know that? Is there a but coming? He regarded me with a look of uncertainty. Despite my tender heart and all my reserves, which tentatively curled against the edges of my mind, there was a comfort I felt with Patrick. He was like a warm blanket that I longed to slip around my shoulders. Shaking my head, I gave him a small smile. No, there's not. I'd like to see you again, too. And that finishes out chapter 10. Looking forward to starting a new week? That's the attitude we like to hear. Good for you, sir. Summer is in full swing for my kiddo, and tomorrow he starts a new camp, nature camp to be specific. So that should be fun. Otherwise, excuse me, it's just another work week for me. Just another day, another Monday. That's awesome. We still have like 2 weeks. Oh, wow. You guys aren't getting done for a while. That is late, actually. Jeez. Tig. Uh-oh. Tig, are you here because you can't sleep? Is that what's going on? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great to see you. I love it when you're here. But I also realize why you're here. It's so warm. Yeah, that can happen. This is why we have what's called an 8 sleep, the number 8 sleep on our bed. We can, using water, it sits on top of the mattress with the sheet on top of it, and we can control temperature, and then it monitors our body temperature to keep us the temperature that we want to be all night long. It's amazing. It's very fancy, and I freaking love it. Yeah, it's once you've started using it, if you were to remove it, it'd be really tricky. It would take a lot of adjustment to get back to just sleeping on a mattress like everybody else. Like it's so nice. If it's really cold out, you can turn it up to make it nice and hot. If you're a hot sleeper like I am, it sounds like you are too. I usually have mine set to -3. In temperature terms, I don't remember what that goes to, but I know it can go as low as like 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So it can get pretty cold if you need it to be. Anyway, I digress. I'm not sponsored by 8 Sleep. I just really like what they offer. Let's do some shoutouts. We've got a lot of people in here that I want to highlight, so forgive me while I start typing away.
Okay, so this. Oh, Witchy.
That was so loud.
That scared me so bad.
Wow, that was
wasn't
loud.
even funny. Ah!
Okay. Good stuff. It scared my dog. Oh no. Sorry, dog. Poof. Some of these people
Never
and their
happened,
jump scares.
including this large coop over here. Fuck! Look how bad this
Someone
was.
got the paddles. I'm coding. Poor cat.
Look at how shameful this was. This is just. You know what? I'm gonna leave this as a test.
Kitty curls. That's fantastic. Gotta love the kitty curls. Absolutely, Paige.
And go steal some of their chains.
You guys are making good progress on that puzzle too.
Hello, how are you?
That's always a great way to meet somebody you're about to try and annihilate. Hi, how's it going? I've never played Sea of Thieves, but I've loved watching the gameplay. Christy, oh my goodness. I was going to play DBD, but now I'm just going to do this puzzle. Heck yeah, Christy. I probably redeemed the girls. Yeah, you're probably right. Although I haven't done a lot lately because I know you've had a upset tummy. So I've been leaving the redeems alone. I haven't even checked to see if you've had them live, to be honest. Because I don't want to make you feel worse, you know?
It feels like they saw me.
Speaking of which...
Oh, they didn't see me! Oh, what a fucking cag. Okay. I'm okay.
I
Okay.
have 10 push-ups to do. If anyone wants to redeem more push-ups,
I'm not there.
now would be a
Look it up with
good
your-
time to do that, and I can do them all together. Thanks to Purple's tier 2 sub that added 10 to my list, or to my count. So if anyone wants to redeem more, now is the opportune time. Oh. Okay, I wasn't expecting double. Thank you, Stunt Mama's Mama, for redeeming the 10. And Surfman, thanks for giving a sub to Seize the DM. You're way too kind. So now I need to make the push-up count 25. And we're going to do some bicep curls. Okay, it's going to be a good workout. Perfect. You do them with me? Sweet. All right, let me get the camera up. And we'll do some push-ups. Okay. Good stuff. Thank you for those redeems. Whew. I wish I had a better way to do the curls on camera. Okay, put the redeem down to 0. Whew. Feeling strong though. Feeling strong, yeah. And hot. 63 degrees out, but my door's closed, so. Okay. You look strong? Thank you. It's the guns, you see. I gotta... It's 79 inside the house? Oh. Ugh. That's just not right. Oof. Thanks for making my Sunday night a good one. Absolutely, sir. I'm thrilled that you're here, honestly. Do you not have any, like, AC for the house? Or maybe even a window unit that you can pump cold air into the room you're in? Maybe? Go to a basement? That's not a thing. It is here in the States, and I am so grateful. Yeah, I remember as a kid it was either the radiators were on or they were off, and that was it. Those were your choices. Yikes. Okay. We are on page 88. 88. Chapter 11 of our book. Here we go. Patrick would often show up in my office after work, his clothes covered in sawdust and smelling of pine. He courted me slowly with flowers and a gentle hand at my back, allowing me to ease into the idea of him. We would grab a drink at the bar down the street, our conversation bleeding into the murmur of the room around us. Oftentimes we would take long walks along the beach with Patrick's dog, Gusto, who he lovingly referred to his neurotic traveling companion. He was an energetic Jack Russell Terrier who spent his time tirelessly running up and down the shore, frantically barking at seagulls. Sounds like a good life for a pup. Excuse me. Oh gosh. Should not be yawning. I enjoyed these moments with him. Our talk stilled the noise in my mind. Patrick was carefree and charming, like an open book with colorful pages that invited me in. It was on one of these evenings that he showed up at my office, rapping softly upon the glass of the open door. You, ready to head out of here for the day? Patrick cocked his head in the direction of the pier. 'Cause if you are, you should come with me. I stood and stretched before shuffling my papers off my desk and into the file cabinet. Yeah? The book putting you to sleep? No, not quite. Some push-ups and some curls, which I don't know if anyone's noticed. I use 25 pounders for my curls. It's just a good place for me. It's not too heavy, but it's also not too light. It's like a good happy medium. But if I do enough of everything, then yeah, I'll start yawning. Can't talk about it. Makes me do more. Anyway. Quit distracting me. Yeah, I think so. I glanced at him with a playful smile. And where are you taking me, Patrick? The warmth of his eyes glinted as he shoved his hands in his pockets. You'll find out. Well then, Patrick's got a surprise. The sun had sunk low, reflecting the light in a shimmering dance that played over the waves. We stood on the pier, watching the fishing boats come in, their rudders leaving a lapping trail behind them as they slipped beside the dock. Patrick sauntered over, his voice jovial as he addressed the men and then climbed aboard. After some chuckling and backslapping between Patrick and the fisherman, he re-emerged with 2 large lobsters dangling in his hands, and a boyish grin plastered on his face. Well, you seem to be very friendly with the locals. Yep. Best place to get seafood in this town, Patrick said. I try to come down here at least a few times a week. And what are we going to do with these guys? I asked, warily eyeing the creatures which seemed to coil towards me with their tethered claws flailing in the air. They winked at me. We're going to eat them. Patrick and I stood in my kitchen together, condensation gathering on the windows from the steam that rose from the boiling water on the stove. His eyes trailed over my sculptures, which had now begun to crowd my kitchen table, all in various forms of completion. These are really beautiful, Jezebel. Thanks. I'm looking into renting a studio because, as you can see, I'm starting to run out of table space. I pushed back the strands of hair that clung to my face while I reached up to grab some plates from the cupboard. I like to think that one day I'll be ready to show my work. Sitting on the living room floor of my apartment, we ate the steamed lobsters. The light of the sun hit the golden hue of Patrick's hair as he leaned in close to me, his fingers reaching out to lightly brush away some of the butter left on my chin. Then his lips were on mine, warm and salty, and I let him kiss me, enjoying the feel of his hands as they slowly ran down my back. Is this okay? Patrick asked, his voice husky against my cheek, as his hands lightly slipped underneath my shirt, teasing my skin. I nodded and pulled him closer as I sank into his touch, drawing out a whisper of arousal. His lips were a soft contrast against the coarseness of his beard, and I let his mouth guide me to a place that wanted more. I closed my eyes, allowing my body to take over as a quiet wave of pleasure washed through me. That evening, we lay naked together in my bed, my head nestled comfortably in the crook of Patrick's arm, watching the setting sun from the shadows throw shadows across the room. Patrick had been slow and gentle with me, his hands delicately exploring my body, his eyes full of tenderness. And while I did not reach ecstatic heights with him, there was no crushing disappointment either. I found myself grateful for the quiet he provided. There was no frantic emotion clawing at me. Being with him was peaceful and comforting, and I realized I needed this. That was an interesting change of heart for her. We have a longer break in the story now, so a much longer stretch of time has gone by. Our days blended together as spring made promises of summer. We fell into a routine that I knew was innately born from the mutual needs of two lonely people experimenting with our hearts. Keeping company, the possibility of more. Patrick began to stay over often, showing up at the apartment with his large, warm smile and his dog in tow. These lazy evenings with him stretched around me like a soft blanket of comfort, reminding me of when I was a child, and I would play house with the children down the street. A game I enjoyed, but one I knew wasn't real. How could it be? What I felt with him was tender, but also infused with confliction, for August still haunted me. He would coil into my dreams at night, dreams which left me gasping and filled with longing as I lay in Patrick's arms, my gut churning with a feeling akin to guilt as I watched him sleep beside me, his face washed in gentle tremble of shadows which played upon the walls, blissfully unaware of the silent struggle within me. And now there's a short break. We sat upon the cliffs by Patrick's job site, Sharing sandwiches and beers, we watched the ocean swallow the sun, bathing the water in a gentle myriad of colors. Do you ever think of leaving this town, Jezebel? Patrick turned to me, the last rays of light reflecting in his eyes. I shrugged and wrapped up the remainder of my sandwich, placing it back in the cooler. Not really. I mean, my business is here. Plus, I don't know where I'd even go. You could go anywhere. Patrick shot me a warm smile and reached out to brush a strand of hair away from my face. You know, I really think your spirit is too big for this place. Slipping my hand in his, I gazed out across the water. His words were like an expensive gift I feel I didn't deserve. And I found myself trying to brush them away. Oh, I don't know about that. I'm nothing special, Patrick. Yes, you are, Jezebel. The look Patrick gave me was filled with so much tenderness, it gathered around me like a soft sigh. I leaned against him, resting my head on his shoulder. As the days between us grew shorter, I clung to the comfort of him that seemed to anchor me. I had been trying to slip on the idea of what we could be together, beyond the time we had left. I could see what a life with him would look like. Cheerful mornings filled with the whistling in the kitchen, with him whistling in the kitchen, the sweetness of his touch, laughter spilling through the apartment. It made me smile. And I wondered, if August had never come into my life, would he have been the refuge I was looking for? But being with Patrick felt like trying to squeeze into a pair of pretty shoes a size too small. I knew I wouldn't be able to walk in them for long. My heart yearned to run reckless and wild through tangled jungles, and the memory of August was like the heavy beat of a drum, incessantly calling out to me despite all my efforts to ignore it. What are you thinking about? Reaching out, Patrick ran his fingers along my cheek, his eyes full of an openness and a longing that caused a bruised feeling of sorrow to suddenly overcome me. I knew that regardless of how much I wanted to, I couldn't return that look. Not with the intensity that his gaze implied. Oh, I was just thinking about how much time we have left together. Patrick pulled me close to him, his lips finding mine and drawing me into a deep kiss that seemed to speak of a hopeful promise I was afraid I couldn't fulfill. We have as much time as you want. I buried my face in his neck, breathing in the faint aroma of the ocean on his skin. My words locked up tight, reluctant to answer. Then we come to another break here. This one's a longer break. Gusto had now claimed his spot at the foot of my bed, curling himself up into a perfect circle. I rested my head against Patrick's shoulder as the blue flickering light of the movie we were watching played across our skin. His hands slowly roamed underneath my shirt, his voice hovering against my neck. So, I have decided to stick around after my work crew leaves. My body involuntarily stilled against him, my heart sinking in my chest. The silence that followed spoke volumes, and Patrick removed his hands from me, sitting up on the edge of the bed. I picked up the remote and turned off the TV, moving closer to where he sat. Patrick? My voice constricted as my hand fell on his back. He stiffened and pulled away from me, shaking his head. I've been so fucking presumptuous, haven't I? He turned to me, his eyes full of anger and pain. Have I just been a plaything to you? an amusing pastime. No, it's not like that, I pleaded as the hot prick of tears clouded my vision. Being with you has been wonderful. I really like you, Patrick. He stood up from the bed and grabbed his shoes. Save me the pleasantries, Jezebel. I get it. Patrick, please. I followed him out to the living room. Don't leave like this. Please talk to me. Patrick hovered in the doorway, his jaw tightly clenched and his eyes dancing with tears that felt like a punch to my gut. What is there to talk about? I thought we had something here. He shrugged his shoulders, his voice gruff as he hastily wiped away a tear that had broken through the surface. But I was clearly wrong about that. You weren't wrong. We do have something. My voice was a whisper as tears slipped down my cheeks. Had I been so selfish in my attempt to move on? How could I explain to him that despite it all, I still longed for August? That I had experienced such profound emotions with him, emotions that had managed to render all others down to a pale comparison. That no matter how hard I had tried, I couldn't shake him from me. But it's not fair to you if we continue this, because I can't give all of myself to you. And you deserve someone who can. I really wanted to, Patrick. I have tried. You are so much of what I've been looking for. But I realize that this part of me that belongs to someone else. Patrick softened for a moment as his hand reached up to gently stroke my hair. His brown eyes crowded with disappointment. Well, whoever this man is, I hope he realizes how lucky he is. His tender response released a flood of aching remorse within me, and I suddenly wondered if I was making a terrible mistake. I gripped his arms as a choking sob spilt out. I'm so sorry. Me too. Patrick dropped his hand, taking a step back from me. I really hope you find what you're looking for, Jezebel. Through my haze of tears, I watched him close the door behind him, leaving me alone with the silence of my own entangled sorrow. Well, sir, it's time for me to go. You have a fantastic evening. Thank you, sir. I will see you on the seas at some point, I am sure. Have a fabulous night. Well, that was a bitter ending. I mean, not to the chapter, just to their relationship. I kind of figured it wouldn't be able to last because, you know, August connection. But, oof, that's tough. We have a long break in the story here. It felt wrong. I think it had to. I think it kind of had to. I remember in one of my books, I had to, I don't want to spoil anything, but I had to do something you wouldn't think would happen to one of the main characters. And, as sucky as that felt, it just kind of had to happen. Because it wouldn't have fit the story if I didn't write it the way I did. So I completely understand why this is the way it is. Patrick couldn't stay. There's no way Patrick could fill the void that August left behind. Just not an option. But that's, you know, 1,000-year-old vampire for you. Once you experience the intensity with someone that Jezebel has, nothing and no one will be able to compete. That's right. 'Tis true. I didn't want her pining away for him. She had to try to move on. Of course. Absolutely. Yep. Totally get it. So let's see what happens then after this this break. Summer slipped in like a rush. Now that Patrick was gone, I busied myself once more with clients and work, settling into a rhythm that no longer felt frantic. I had grown accustomed to the silence of my life again. Patrick had somehow managed to soften the blunt edges around myself, and the feel of August's memory had become a story I whispered to myself at night, the recollections of his touch no longer a burn upon my skin. Every day, I would find myself glancing out my office window, hoping to see the familiar outline of Raven's purple trailer parked along the dock. Jeepers, I almost said clock. Park at the clock, 9 o'clock, please. We had kept in touch over the winter, nights spent curled up on my couch with the phone pressed against my ear, her soothing words keeping me grounded. I looked forward to seeing her again, of relinquishing the burden of my thoughts to her warm, knowing gaze. Cradled in a growing friendship, I realized I had been seeking for years. The sun made its descent upon the water, bathing the office in a hazy pink light. The sound of the waves and children laughing filtered in through the open windows. Jules arranged an assortment of food platters and drinks on my desk, which was now covered with a crisp white tablecloth. Tonight, the office had been transformed into a cheerful art exhibit. Various flowers crowded in vases among the room, their alluring scent trailing through the air. My sculptures were displayed on little black stands I had found down the street at the hardware store. Jules had been the driving force behind this event, finally convincing me to show my work. "Thank you so much for putting all this together," I said, taping price tags along the bottom of my pieces. "Not a problem. It's been fun. I think I got the whole town to come out tonight." Jules looked flushed and excited as she spoke, her long silver earrings brushing against her neck. "It's just too bad Patrick had to leave town so quickly. I'm surprised he didn't want to stick around a bit longer. I thought you guys had a good thing going." "We did, but you know how it is. His lifestyle wasn't really conducive for a long-term relationship." That felt kind of like a cover-up. Not gonna lie. Jezebel. She furrowed her brow. "Well, the way he talked about you, I thought for sure he was going to make some adjustments." Jules appeared to not know what had transpired between us, and I couldn't bring myself to tell her. The last night with Patrick, he had left with so much pain in his eyes. I had hurt him, and my gut still clenched whenever I thought about it. Love could be such a misguided and unrequited affair. Why couldn't the simple act of loving someone be enough to stir the heart of another? I stopped at my largest piece, entitled Embrace, running my fingers along the smooth depiction of muscle and skin. I had spent almost a year working on this one. It portrayed a nude man and woman entwined, her head thrown back in ecstasy while his mouth feverishly fell upon her neck. I didn't really want to sell the piece, or this piece. It had too much meaning behind it for me. Hours I had spent drawing August out through the clay, paying homage to what we shared together. Something sacred and ephemeral, But Jules had insisted I display it. She called it my deliciously erotic magnum opus and said it would draw attention to my show. So, I threw an exorbitant amount on the tag, knowing no one would possibly buy it. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if this one sells tonight, Jules spoke from behind. I turned around and rolled my eyes. No one in their right mind is going to spend $10,000 on my piece. Exactly my point, she said, poking my arm playfully. There are a lot of kooks in this town. Small break in the story. At around 7, the bell on the office door came alive. People filed in quickly, and soon the room was packed with bodies. The low murmur of voices and the tinkling of ice and glasses filled my ears as I was shuffled around by Jules. You've already sold 4 pieces, she whispered in my ear. People are loving your stuff. She pushed a glass of wine into my hand. Relax and enjoy this, she smiled warmly. You look amazing, by the way. Jules was referring to the low-cut cocktail dress she had loaned me. The dark green silk material hung against my curves and flirted with the floor as I walked, making me feel like some glamorous red carpet attendee. I moved to the front door to prop it open and let some air into the room, which had begun to grow quite stifling. The fresh evening breeze from the ocean rushed into the space, instantly cooling the flush upon my cheeks. I stood and sipped my wine, watching all the familiar faces of the locals and business owners move around me. I smiled and nodded in thanks while they offered up their praise of my work. A warm rush of happiness bubbled within me, a lightness of being I had not felt in a long time. I had no idea that exposure would feel so good. This evening had not just been about the liberation of my work, but the liberation of myself as well. I had released my demons from their encapsulating shell, and they no longer clung to me with such persuasion. Jules approached me from across the room, jolting me from my ruminations. Jeez, I can read. She wore an excited look on her face as she grabbed me by my arm and whispered dramatically into my ear. Oh my God, Jezebel! I think someone wants to buy your big sculpture. My heart sunk. The thought of something I had spent so long pouring my soul into, suddenly being gone, filled me with dread. I stared at Jules in shock. That extremely generous man over there is very interested in your magnum opus. She pointed to a man in a black suit with his sleeves rolled up, standing in front of Embrace. His back was to me, and wavy dark hair brushed against the collar of his jacket. He turned around, and a familiar set of deep blue eyes met mine from across the room. And that's the end of chapter 11. I knew it. Well, I didn't know it. I had a really good idea, in the back of my mind. He's been watching her. He has seen the piece de la Resistance. And now he wants to buy it. Yep. It's about freaking time, August. Left your girl hanging. Yeah, I kept wondering to myself, okay, she's showing off her pieces. There's this big, gala, if you will. And this one's really expensive. I was like, something's gonna happen here. Like, either she's gonna see him or he's gonna say something to her. Like, there's gonna be some sort of interaction. But the fact that you ended the chapter with, he turned around and there was his eyes. I was like, bam, that's the guy. I love this book so much. Me too. I just recommended it to my fan group and another book group. Kay, that's so kind of you. That's seriously kind. Make sure to type in !awakening, and that way you can get the link to Jennifer's bio, like her author page on Amazon. That's super sweet of you. Thank you. I love this. Authors helping authors. I think that's amazing. That was a hope that I had in the back of my mind when I decided to not read books from the Gutenberg Project. Not that there's anything wrong with them. When I started reaching out to independent authors like both of you, I was really, really hoping that over time, if I could keep it going, which I have so far, that, you know, these little connections would start to happen and it would grow into some sort of, well, not outreach, but a new type of community, if you will. You know? A slower progression, not like a Facebook group where you can just at somebody and write a message and then poof, it's there. But, you know, take the time over a few weeks to read a book and talk about it and experience it together. Kind of the sloth approach, if you will. So that's awesome. Let's go. That makes my day. Thank you, Kay. You're a sweetheart. I'm all about helping each other out. This is not a competition. Absolutely not. It is not. There will never be enough books in the world. Absolutely. Well, now that we know August is back, I guess I should just leave it there for the night, huh? Just call it a night. Come back to this on Thursday. I'm kidding. When we lift each other up, we all rise together. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I knew I was going to get some reactions out of that, but everyone's like, don't make us riot. Fair enough. Fairy muff. And I say this next comment realizing it's going to sound a little bit selfish, and I get it, but hopefully you'll understand where I'm coming from. Within the group online where you guys are, and I mean, I have my own books. I haven't really posted them on there or anything. I'm kind of hoping within that group I become known as not the guy with a bunch of books, but the guy that reads your books, you know, if that makes sense. I'm hoping to get a name for myself within that Facebook group of, oh, you need someone to read your book and, like, you know, do it in a very specific way. Atkinson's your guy. Like, I'm hoping that starts to happen. So, yeah, I say fairy muff. It's right. It's true. Fair enough is boring. Fairy muff is not. So yeah, with the Facebook stuff, with my inclusion in that of bringing out authors and trying to highlight authors and, you know, buy a copy for myself, but also to introduce it to other people. That is my goal, so that when I'm on there, people aren't like, who is this guy? They're like, oh, it's that guy. Yes, I'm going to reach out to some other author friends of mine and get their books on here. That'd be cool. I mean, I do have like a guide that I go by, a certain standard, if you will, that I try and keep the books that I'm reading to. And most of the time that standard is right on. But that being said, I love helping other authors by getting a copy, reading their copy, promoting their copy. So, because I get it. It's hard. I've got 8 books out, and yeah, it's tough. I won't flood you, I promise. As long as they don't mind waiting, because obviously it takes a little while to get through a book, only streaming twice a week. Yeah, I'm always happy to put books on my list. I've got 2 books sitting right here. So, we're going to get to them. We sure are. Share your author page on Amazon. Are you talking about Jennifer? Because that's all you have to do is this. Awakening. That's... Oh, me. You mean me. Sorry. To get mine, I think... I thought it was already listed. Yeah, it is. I'm grabbing the link right now, but down below in my About section, you'll see a link that says Like Books. And that'll take you to my page. Okay. I'm Twitch dumb. It's okay. You'll get the ins and outs. All right. Well, I think the anticipation has grown enough, don't you? August is back, and that starts with chapter 12, page 97 in our printed copy. So, let's get into it. My pulse quickened, and all sounds seemed to slip away, except for the frantic rush of my heartbeat in my ears. I gripped the door frame to steady myself. "You should go over and introduce yourself." Jules' voice sounded far away as she prattled on. "He said he would love to meet the artist." She pulled me away from the doorway and into the crowd, my legs suddenly heavy and uncooperative as the space between us grew smaller. I stared at August in a state of shock. "August, this is Jezebel." The irony of Jules' introduction was not lost on me. I attempted to smile, but after being apart for so long, his presence overwhelmed me. I grew dizzy, and my stomach fluttered like the wings of frenzied butterflies dancing within. "It's so nice to meet you." He gave me a playful wink, clearly amused by the situation. "I'll let you two chat." Jules patted me on the shoulder before disappearing into the crowd. Jezebel. August's face suddenly grew serious and filled with tenderness as he took me in. "You look absolutely beautiful." He moved closer, speaking softly as his hands ran along the curves of the sculpture. "This piece is breathtaking." His hands on the clay elicited a jolt of pleasure through my body, as if it were me he was touching. "You never told me you were a sculptor." "Well, you never asked," I said, my voice wavering in reply. "There's a lot you don't know about me, August." He regarded me with a look of sudden regret. "Yes, I suppose you're right." "How long have you been back?" "I only arrived today. I happened to see the flyer for your show and thought I would surprise you." "Well, you did." My heart refused to slow its frantic pace as I stood beside him. Trying to appear calm, I drew my glass of wine up to my lips and realized my hands were shaking. August's eyes searched mine imploringly, noticed the tremor. He reached for me, his fingers grazing the inside of my wrist. Is there somewhere more private you would like to go for a moment? I nodded and signaled for him to follow me. Navigating us through the crowd, I slipped into the narrow hallway and opened the supply closet door. Ah, the supply closet. Okay. Everyone knows what the supply closet's for. It's not always for supplies. Motioning him inside and shutting it behind us. I fumbled for the switch in the dark while his hand slipped to my waist, causing a jolt of electricity to spill through me as a stark light flooded the tiny room. God, how I have missed you. His voice was heavy with intensity as he traced the curve of my cheek with his thumb before sliding down to rest against my hips, his eyes full of longing. I had to come back to you, Jezebel. I'm just sorry it took me so long. My mind swam with thoughts I could not compartmentalize. Seeing him again was like taking a deep breath of air I had not realized I had been holding until now. But at the same time, hesitation curled around me, and the buried anger I thought I had let go of threatened its way to the surface. I placed my hands on his chest to push him away, feeling his rapid heartbeat against my palm. Do you think you can just waltz back into my life like this? Without an explanation? And what makes you assume I'm even available anymore for whatever this is between us? A look of heavy remorse flashed within the depths of August's eyes. Was I wrong? Was it wrong of me to show up like this? Shall I leave? His gaze tore into me, a ferocious indigo and violet which stretched my heart open despite the confliction which coursed through me. A longing mixed with the height of all the sorrow his absence had fashioned to this sinew of myself coiled within. He had come back, and though the meaning of that was still unclear, hope fluttered against my chest, delicate and raw. No. The words tumbled out of my mouth in a whisper as a rush of reckless heat overcame me, and I lost myself to the exhilarating drug of him that seemed to obliterate everything else. Gripping his arm tight, I found his mouth. I couldn't think, and I suddenly didn't want to. All I could do was devour his lips. I curled my fingers into his hair, which smelled of earth as he pressed me against the door, his hands sliding down my dress. Are you really here right now? My voice came out breathless as his mouth began to trail down my neck. Yes. I'm really here. His lips beat softly upon my skin as he drew my body closer. Despite his tiny voice hissing within me, the feel of him after so long was inebriating. I have waited for you every day. I gasped as I pressed the heat of myself against him, fumbling with the enclosure of his pants. Jezebel. His eyes were a deep burn on me as he gripped my hips to slow down the frantic pace of my desire. How I long to savor every inch of you right now. His voice was husky as his gaze traveled across my skin. But I would prefer it not be up against a door in a supply closet. August got jokes. A trembling exhale escaped my lips as he slowly pulled away from me. Straightening my dress, he ran his hands through the curls of my hair. I would love nothing more than for you to join me at the house tonight. Or wait, that was him, not her. Let's try that again. I would love nothing more than for you to join me at the house tonight. I nodded and I'm losing it. I nodded and smiled languidly at him, taking a deep, shuddering breath to compose myself. I was dazed and shaky as August gently led me back into the room, my limbs weak from the overwhelming rush of him. The crowd had noticeably thinned, and Jules was clearing drinks and platters of food away. She caught my eye and winked, almost as if she knew what had transpired between August and me. My cheeks warmed as his hand fell on my waist. All right, short break in the story, because I think we all know where this is going. I stood by the door while the last of the crowd dispersed, leaving a stillness that settled over the room. Jules breezed by me with her purse in hand. I'm going to head out. Jules nodded toward August with a smile. Looks like you found a friend. Did he end up buying your piece? I shook my head. It's complicated. We have some history together. She raised her eyebrow. Well, now I'm intrigued. Wait, sorry, I read that wrong. Well, now I am intrigued, is probably what she meant. I smiled at her, resting her hand on... Wow. I've done this before, the reading part, okay? I know what I'm doing. I smiled at her, resting my hand on her arm. It wasn't even a difficult sentence. Jennifer, you got him flustered? No comment.
Daddy.
Thank you, Kay. Thanks again for tonight. You're very welcome. It was fun. People really liked your work. She blew me a kiss before slipping out the door, the sharp clip of her high heels sounding on the pavement as she headed out into the night. I turned back into the office and walked over to where August stood beside the sculpture of us, his hand trailing down the piece. You have so much passion inside you, Jezebel. He turned around to face me, a look of awe in his eyes. It, at times, renders me speechless. I reached out to him, my mouth falling against his lips, soft and warm, stirring me once more. My words came out in a whisper against him. You know that sculpture is of us, right? August brushed his thumb across my cheek. Yes, but I did not think it was possible to take what we have shared together and make it even more beautiful. Man, this dude, he's a charmer. We drove in silence to his house. I had so many questions but didn't want to break the spell his presence had conjured. His hand found mine in the dark contours of the car, warm and enveloping. I closed my eyes, letting the road take me to the place that had shattered my reality and self-control so long ago. It had become the only place that made sense to me anymore. Another small break. The house was dark when we arrived. August drew me inside, where I noticed the table set for two. I know it may be presumptuous. His lips softly brushed my ear as he spoke, but I wanted to share some dinner with you. Drawing his arms around my waist, I leaned back against the sturdiness of his chest, absorbing the moment between us. Why don't you take a seat? he said, slowly leading me over to the dining room. I sat and watched him light the candles on the table, enveloping the room around us in a golden glow before he retreated into the kitchen. I glanced out the window, which was open to the crashing sound of the ocean. A soft summer's breeze slipped in through the curtains, making the flames from the candles flicker and dance. August returned, setting food warmed from the oven upon the table. "This is a bouche à la reine," he said, uncovering a dish that looked like pastry stuffed with chicken and an herbed cream sauce. "Did you cook this for me?" He nodded and smiled, taking a seat next to me and filling up my glass with a deep red wine. I took a sip, feeling the rich oak and berry run over my palate, the heavy warmth settling in my belly. My sensations, which always seemed to be heightened around him, swirled within me. The wine, the food, his eyes on me, all of it so exquisitely delicious. "As I am sure you can imagine, I've had many years to perfect the craft," he said with a wink, handing me a plate of food. "I deeply enjoy cooking. I find it to be a form of art, in a way. Taking rudimentary ingredients and transforming them into something that evokes pleasure." Affection washed over me as I envisioned him in the kitchen cooking. It was these simple domestic moments with him that I longed for. Okay, but does he know how to do the laundry? Can he fold clothes properly? Does he know what are delicates and what are not? Cold versus hot? Just saying. Those things matter. Anyway, moving on. August watched me as I began to eat, but the comfortable silence became punctuated by my thoughts as the euphoric haze of his presence abruptly lifted. Will he let me watch him fold the laundry? Yeah, get that fitted sheet. Oh yeah. Leaving me with the conflicting emotions that swirled around me like fire. "August." I set down my fork, leveling him with my gaze. That could get kinky fast. Yeah, right. "I have to say, this is very presumptuous of you." I swept my hand across the table for emphasis. "All this. Do you think you could just woo me back into your arms with a little dinner?" Leaning back in his chair, he ran his fingers through his hair, his casually confident demeanor replaced with a flicker of discomfort and uncertainty. "Are you going to tell me where you've been all this time?" He regarded me with an obscure look, cloaked in layers I could not uncover. I've been many places, Jezebel. But I am back now." "Are you really? What does that mean?" I asked, a stab of hot anger welling up inside me. "You were gone for over a year. How do I know you're not just gonna disappear into the night again? Which, by the way, is something you seem to be very skilled at doing." The pause between us felt heavy as August stared back at me in silence. "Jesus Christ." I shook my head, my fists clenched tightly in my lap. "Almost 2 years have been gone, August. I figured that would have been given you enough time to at least have a speech prepared." Abruptly rising from the table, I left him sitting there as the thick pulse of frustration coiled within me. Flinging the front door open, I made my way down the gravel driveway, the thunder of the waves engulfing the dissonance of my mind. Well, that's the end of chapter 12, by the way. I didn't expect that. Well, I mean, that's not true. I knew the turbulence was going to happen, right? That there's been too much unsettled emotion, no closure. So there was no doubt in my mind that Jezebel was going to have a moment to let that out. I didn't expect it halfway through that meal that I forgot what it's called. Oh yeah, totally had to happen. But he's just sitting there. Been gone for almost 2 years. Figured you'd have a speech or something. And the guy just sits there. Better than that after sex or during. Yeah, true. Very true. Maybe they'll have makeup sex. I bet they'll have makeup sex. Yep. I guess we'll find out in chapter 13. Page 103, by the way. In the printed copy. Holy buckets, it's warm in here. Got the window open, but my door's closed, so there's no airflow. Oh, you will? Oh, I bet we will. I bet we will. Right. On that note, do you need to do shoutouts? No, I think we're all caught up on shoutouts, actually. Thank you for asking, though, Kay. I appreciate that. But I believe we are caught up. Unless I missed somebody. Did I miss somebody? Now you're making me second guess myself. Just checking the chat. We got Christy, we got Purple. No, I think we're good. It is quiet in here. Well, and that's not terribly uncommon for the reading stuff because, like, some people will be focused on the puzzle and therefore they're not typing. Some people like to have me in their ear while they're doing a task. This stream can often be treated like a audiobook that you would play in a car or, you know, while you're commuting somewhere. Guilty of the puzzle. And that's okay. That's why the puzzle's there. Gives you something to do while you're listening. So it's not, I don't take it as a negative thing or offensive or anything like that if the chat is a little bit quieter, because I know people are listening. It's just that their hands are occupied with other things, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. There will be a quiz at the end of the book, though, so I'm just kidding. There's no quiz. We left quizzes a long time ago. It's called school, and class is not in session. All right. So, Jezebel just up and walked out. Granted, I don't know who drove. I'm assuming that he drove. But it doesn't actually say. So I don't know if she was planning on walking home or just walking to her car. What's the name of the dog? Crap. I forgot. The dog didn't seem to be important at the time. No, now you're making me think about this, Christy. Roscoe. No, not Roscoe. Gosh darn it. You see what you've done? I failed my own test. I think she was talking about August. Ooh, burn. Jennifer. I forgot the name of the dog. Gosh darn it. Now I want to know. Gusto, that's right. Yeah. Gusto. And I should have remembered that because Gusto is a software that my company uses to do our paychecks. Speaking of a dog, one's barking outside. I was just kidding. It's because you said there would be a quiz. I know, but you posted the question, so I wanted to see if I could get it right. And I totally forgot. That's all right. That's why there's no quiz. Because if I can't get it right, then... Psh. Okay. Mama House Gaming. Oh my goodness. Hey there. Jason. Don't you be coming in here with all that. We do have one more shout out to do. Oh, I totally missed the S. Good grief. There we go.
Sons of a gun.
That was well worth.
God.
I hate those sons of guns. Never trust them.
Jeez Louise, man. Let's try this again.
There will be another dog coming up in part 3, so take notes, everybody. All right. Good to see you, Mama. Okay. Now, chapter 13, page 103. Jezebel. August's hands grabbed me, gripping my shoulders. Where are you going? I yanked myself away from his grasp, my words spilling out into the wind. I'm not a fucking toy that you can just pick up and play with when the mood suits you. His eyes shifted to a slate gray, filled with a heavy sorrow that tore into me. You have never been a toy to me. Then what am I to you? I stared at him intently as the wind crashed against us. You are more to me than I ever thought possible. I came back because the very idea of you fills me with such emotion that I am rendered helpless. And though I have tried, I am unable to stay away. August's voice cracked with a desperation I had never seen in him before. But the truth is, Daddy. That's right. I need you, Jezebel. His words slammed into me with such force that my thoughts tumbled around in my mind. Staring out into the depths of the sea, I took a deep breath, searching for an anchor. But you left me for so long, August. All your words can't change that. You are right. They cannot. I have been a fool and a coward. The look he gave me was filled with a vehement emotion that threatened to devour me. But I want nothing more than to be given the opportunity to redeem myself. She is streaming. She's playing some Grounded. thought you said there was no place for us. He stepped closer, reaching out to run his fingers delicately across my cheek. I'd no longer care about any of that. Life is meant to be lived, not compartmentalized. His touch was like a bright spark of fire that warmed my skin, and I grew flushed, the anger slowly trickling away as I fell into the depths of his eyes. I never thought I would have the capacity to feel this way again, but I do. And I am sorry that it took this long for me to come to terms with that. There was a power to his statement, like he was relinquishing something deep within himself and offering it up to me. August grasped my hips with an intensity as he drew me flush against him. Do you know how deeply I feel for you? So many years I have spent dead inside until you came along and revived something within me. You have breathed color into my world once more. August reached up and lost his fingers in the tangles of my hair. Do you not feel the connection between us? You must, on some level. For it was my essence that I shared with you last night, that we were together. The memory of August's energy slamming into me with such visceral power sucked the air out of my lungs, causing my voice to come out tangled and hushed. Yes, I felt all of it. August ran his thumb along my cheek, his voice a gruff whisper. Please, forgive me. Damn you, August. You know I can't think straight when I'm around you. Then stop thinking. He cupped my face in his hands as his eyes pulled me into the current of his concentrated fervor. The mind can be a restless creature, born of insecurity and doubt. Believe me, I am all too aware of this reality. But what speaks beneath all that? My whole body hummed as I closed my eyes. The sound of the ocean crashed beneath us, sweeping all my doubts away and pulling forth the warm pulse of yearning, allowing the silent language of my heart to step forward. I need you to promise me that you're not going to run off again like that. I promise. You, Jezebel. I am here, and I'm not going anywhere. My whole body shook as I pulled him tight against me. August's lips touched my skin, leaving a trail of thick pleasure which bloomed inside me, and I sunk into the heavy, frantic drug of his kiss. A breathless gasp spilled from my lips as he lifted me up effortlessly into his arms and carried me back into the house, enfolding me in his warmth as my mouth felt hungry and impatient against his. Small break in the story. Moonlight danced across our skin as we stood in his bedroom together. The intensity of August's gaze broke me open as he slowly slid the straps of my dress down my arms, allowing the fabric to fall at my feet. His hands slowly caressing the length of my back before moving to the soft swell of my breasts. My body trembled as he eviscerated me with his touch, while my fingers grasped at his clothes, fumbling with the cloth until I found his heat and held him firmly in my hand. August drew in a sharper breath and groaned, lifting me up and backing me against the wall as I wrapped my legs tightly around his waist. A blinding rush, so acute, burst within me as he entered me. I cried out, my body shuddering as he lay so still within me his pulse throbbing in time with my heart. A visceral wave of emotions that were not mine washed over me with breathtaking clarity, colliding with my own desire. Do you feel me, Jezebel? Yes, I gasped as he dove himself deeper. I feel you. I clutched his back, my nails digging into his flesh. The entirety of my being falling away until there was nothing left but our bodies wrapped so beautifully together, like the silken threads of a cocoon. Mios amor. God, how I have missed you. His voice was a silken whisper in my ear as he continued his slow dance of ecstasy inside me. Every muscle violently contracted as a divine current of bliss ruptured within, and I exploded against him with abandon. August watched me with a heavy longing as I lost myself, my eyes tearing with overwhelming elation. He filled me so completely, it was almost too much to take. He gently kissed my tears away, and then gave them back, his mouth salty upon my lips. You are so exquisite. Delictus meus pulchrimus quid tibi mecum tantum. He moaned against my skin in disjointed Latin as his thrusts grew more fervent. Crying out, I clutched his back as he engulfed me, hollowing me out and leaving nothing behind but the bright spark of a devotion I could barely define, delicate but consuming. Another wave cascaded through my body, and I crashed against him, tumbling blindly over the edge once more as I took August with me, the delicious warmth of him spilling inside. Small break in the story. Upon the bed, I lay tangled in August's arms, his hands tracing lazy circles across my back. I was lusciously spent as my emotions trickled out around me, tender, unguarded, and alive. I found his face in the darkness, my fingers brushing over his lips. I wish I spoke Latin. August smiled with a teasing look in his eyes. So, you want to know what it is I say when I lose myself in you? Yes, I do. My voice quivered as he drew his mouth against my ear, his hands slipping into my hair. My beautiful beloved, how you enrapture me. His words caressed me, and I began to ache from deep within as his lips traveled down my neck. August, I want to be with you. You are Jezebel. His tone was rich and sleepy. No, I mean, really be with you. He guided my face to his, eyes flashing different shades of blue before me. What are you asking? I didn't quite know what I was asking. All I knew was that I wanted to break down the barriers that separated us. Are you able to change me? August shook his head slowly. No, I cannot do that. You can't, or you won't. He sighed. I cannot. It does not work that way. I descended from a bloodline, and I am not equipped to alter that. Nor would I ever wish to do so. I would never want to take this life from you. Time can be a heavy burden upon the soul. You've never talked about children. A pause shifted the air between us as he tenderly stroked my cheek with the pad of his thumb. Did you and your wife choose to not have any? Sorrow flashed in August's eyes. No. We did in fact want a child. And she became pregnant once. But we lost her too early. One day she came to me and said that becoming a mother was not meant to be. There was so much pain and resolve in her voice that out of respect, I never mentioned it again. Reality rushed in like a thick fog lifting. The intensity of what August and I shared together had pushed past the boundaries of what sex was to me, and not once did the topic of protection come up. He met my eyes in the darkness, answering my question before it spilled from my mouth. No. I am unable to give you a child. You must have a link somewhere within the bloodline. What do you mean? In order for you to conceive, you have to possess the abilities of my kind. My fingers reached up and lost themselves in his hair. I wanted with such an acute longing to bathe in the thick richness of who he was, to forge a permanent connection. You know, I would give up this life for you, if I could. He looked unsettled as he took my words in. Please do not say that. Why? Like flames igniting from the embers of a fire, his gaze suddenly grew ravenous as it shifted to my body, causing a flush of heat to spread across my skin as his hand slowly slid up my leg. Feverishly, I pressed myself against him as he began to stroke the slickness of my sex with his fingers. Hi, Jazz. Because this life you have been given is a precious gift. His voice was a lustful rasp as his touch teased out my pleasure. And you are absolute perfection, just the way you are. I gasped, trembling against him, raw and open. It did not take long for the surge to sweep over me like a blast of momentary mindlessness. He watched me quietly, desire and amusement flickering across his face. I rolled on top of him and pinned his arms against the mattress as the feel of his arousal pulsed underneath me. Yep, just making sure I didn't miss a page. What was that for? I asked playfully. Forgive me, but I cannot help myself. I love watching you. His hands pulled themselves from my grip and reached up to brush back my hair. It is so beautiful when you let yourself go. I arched my neck back like an addict, craving more of his engulfing pleasure. Then embrace me, I whispered. He looked up at me with a teasing smile. You cannot get enough, can you? Never. I drew him closer. He stopped me, his hand slipping down to my neck as his fingers gently caressed my pulse. I want you to know, Jezebel, that an embrace is only a temporary agreement. If I were to take from you long term, it would permanently deplete your essence. I looked at him with confusion. What do you mean? August ran his hand down to my collarbone, tracing soft circles across my skin. Your essence is the lifeline to your health. When there is an imbalance there, illness can occur. So, I could get sick? He regarded me somberly. Yes, Jezebel. If I embraced you consistently, you could develop health problems down the line. Well, what about just once in a while? As part of an occasional shared intimate moment between us? Yes, of course. I took in this information as the truth of what that meant coursed through me. Wait, does that mean you are going to embrace other women then? Would it bother you if I did? His eyes burned into me while I rolled off him and sat up on the bed. The thought of him touching another woman caused my gut to lurch abruptly. Jezebel. August drew his fingers slowly down my back. I have embraced thousands of women. Givers are very sacred to me. But not one of them has ever made me desire anything more until you. You are the first I have ever shared myself with like this. I turned to him. So, what are you saying? I'm saying that even though an embrace is an act of shared intimacy, it pales in comparison to what I feel with you. My heart fumbled around in my chest, but despite my hesitation to accept this potential reality between us, I sighed, allowing August to pull me down next to him, where I nestled my head against his shoulder, running my hand slowly down his torso. August? Yes. Did you know that while you were gone, I met a seer who knows you? A woman named Raven. She said she met you once in Syria. Ah, yes, Raven. I remember her well. I am so glad you two were able to cross paths. He ran his fingers through my hair as he spoke. A very wise woman she is. I nodded as my hand trailed across his skin, brushing over the tangled patch of curls on his chest. She helped me understand a lot, you know. You left me with all these heavy emotions, and I had no place to put them. August lifted my chin to meet his eyes, placing a long kiss upon my lips. His voice was filled with a hushed fervency as his breath danced against my cheek. I am so sorry. I know that it was incredibly unfair of me to leave you the way I did, and without clearing your mind first. I was going to. He trailed off for a moment, confliction burning within the depths of his gaze. But I found myself unable to do so. I pulled him closer to me. I'm not sorry. I would have never wanted you to, anyway. Shaking his head, he tenderly cupped my face. But I never gave you that choice, did I, Jezebel? And for that I am deeply ashamed. I was a coward for leaving, and selfish for making you carry that weight with you for so long. I hope you can forgive me of that. I rested my forehead against his. Though the past 2 years had been painful for me, I realized I would not take them back even if I were given the chance. August had stripped away at my walls, leaving room for something much larger to take its place. I do, because you came back to me. I suppose there was a part of me that always knew I would. August gently stroked his fingers down my cheek, and I couldn't bear the thought of you forgetting me. Our eyes sought out each other's light within the darkness of the room, shedding away the residue, until there was nothing left but the filaments of ourselves, reaching out amongst the muted sound of the waves crashing against the rocks below us. And that ends chapter 13. That's a great idea. I think I will. While I'm showing off Flip, can we please have a shout out for Jazz? Here's Flippy.
Yeah, just spray.
Jazz, don't be weird. Purple, don't encourage. It's right after a sexy scene. How was it weird? Because it's a stuffed dolphin.
She didn't set you on fire. She just styled your hair, dude. Ow.
Oh, you guys are funny.
Oh, she pokey.
I'd be like,
Pokey.
oh, Jezebel. Oh, August. Wow, don't listen to him. Flip, he loves you. I do. You're awesome. But it's just not the kind of relationship we're trying to have, okay? Jezebel. Yes, August? How I longed for you. Daddy. You guys are funny. What time is it? 9:30? Oh boy, we have to do this chapter. I love that Lady K keeps coming back for all of us, and Jason, of course. It is pretty cool, Kay, that you stuck around even after I finished reading your book. Not many authors do that, so I appreciate it. We're going to read chapter 14. I was going to stop right there, but chapter 14 takes us to the end of part 1. So I think it only makes sense that we, finish part 1 tonight instead of finishing part 1 and then starting part 2 all at the same time. I'm glad, Kay. It's fun for me too. Let's go. Alright, chapter 14, page 111, also known as 111. Here we go. The evening slowly slipped into the early stillness of the morning. Wisps of delicate color spread across the sky, bathing our skin in pastel hues while we lay together, speaking of things not yet shared. The blanket of our own tightly woven stories unraveling between us like gentle confessions. You like 111 better? Very good. I talked of my past and the night of the accident which had changed everything. The fragments of my time in foster care, and the lonely ache that followed me like a hungry shadow. August spoke of his voyage across the world, of growing up during the political unrest of the Middle Ages, the division of the Church and the disintegration of Rome. Intricate strands of beauty, art, culture, and politics he wove for me into a tapestry of color and light, the vastness of history, settling around me like fine silk. His voice grew soft when he began to speak of his wife, their travels, and her gifts, and his years spent in anger and turmoil at not being able to save her. I suppose I have believed for so long that I no longer deserved happiness. The deep vibrato of August's voice was tinged with a hint of sadness as I lay against him, his hands playing through the coils of my hair. Is that why you left? Yes. You stirred something deep within me I believed I had no right to explore. So what made you come back then? My question was soft and hesitant, but filled with hope. I wanted to know what had compelled him to return. The mind can only convince the heart of something for so long, I suppose. I ran my hand slowly down his chest, reveling in the solid reality of him beside me again as my heart swelled with gratitude. I'm so glad you came back to me. He pulled me tight against him, placing a lingering kiss on my forehead. Me too, Jezebel. August. His voice had become soft and drowsy. There is something I need to tell you. I took a deep breath, my fingers fiddling with the sheets. My birth name is Sarah. The name Jezebel was actually given to me by a woman I met in a dream as a child. August's hand stopped its movements against my hair. An overwhelming silence hung thick and pressing around me. Finally he spoke, his voice full of revelation. That was you? I sat up to find his eyes filled with tears. You know about this? August nodded slowly. I knew about all her travels. Why do you think she came to me? A sigh escaped him. She never seemed to have control over who she visited. His fingers absent-mindedly trailed down my back. But I remember that night. The night of the gathering. It was the first time she traveled. She spoke of a young girl who had a story much like hers. She told me how she had given her a piece of herself. The power held within her name. August reached over, pulling me close to him again, his hand softly cupping my cheek. There lies such vibrant potential beyond our comprehension. His thumb brushed along the bottom of my lip. Life is full of beautiful mystery, and this intrinsic connection we share may only be surfacing. Do you understand how profound this is, Jezebel? I nodded, placing my hand on his chest. I do. I feel it. I have always felt it between us. Small break in the story. We lay in peaceful silence together, watching the blushing colors of the morning filter across the room. Our limbs entwined, hands delicately tracing over each other's skin, memorizing every detail as if it were written in Braille. August abruptly rose from the bed, turning to me. His dark hair fell messy and rumpled around his face, and his eyes shimmered with a joy I had not seen in him before. It gave him a youthful appearance, and I could suddenly picture what he must have looked like when he had been a child. I'm going to watch the sunrise. Would you care to join me? I nodded and grabbed a sheet from the bed, wrapped it around myself, and followed him out to the deck. A cool breeze blew against me as we watched the water dance with the flush of the morning sky. From across the waves, seagulls called out to each other in their shrill, mournful tone. God, you are so beautiful. August's hand moved to brush the tangle of my hair away from my shoulder, his lips falling on my neck. I closed my eyes as he wrapped his arms around my waist, his breath like a sensual shiver affixed upon my flesh. The way the light hits you reminds me of the Greek goddess Eos. And who is Eos? I asked with a smile, leaning against the warmth of his chest. She is the goddess of the dawn, representing renewal. This has always been my favorite time of day, he said with a sigh, knowing that even the darkest of nights can be washed away into something beautiful. August rested his chin on the top of my head and pulled me closer. Yes, there is a profound stillness born from the space in between darkness and light. It reminds me that there is always room for rebirth. You just have to be ready for it. I reached up and ran my fingers through his hair. I think I'm ready. Me too. August smiled and slid his hand underneath the sheet, pulling the fabric away and replacing it with his soft caress. I shivered in the cool morning air as drops of dew hovered on my skin. You have helped me find my happiness again, Jezebel. His voice was a tender whisper against my ear as his fingers slipped down into my warmth, coaxing out my pleasure as he gently entered me from behind. I feel like I should be friends with this author. Well, this author is in chat. A drawn-out gasp escaped me, and my hands tightly gripped the railing as he moved within. The wave of my desire crested with such force while his mouth devoured the flesh of my neck like a burning flame. He held me up, firmly pressed against his chest, while the sky continued to shift her colors around us, welcoming the heat of the sun. I cried out to the ocean, to the vastness of the horizon, to the powerful beauty of him which spilled into my core, filling me up so completely. August carried me back into the bedroom. I could feel sleep rushing in, its tentacles reaching to pull me down to the depths. I do believe I have worn you out. You are insatiable, I murmured as he lay me gently on the bed. He let out a soft chuckle, his voice a warm, rich caress. Yes, I am. But it takes two to dance, Jezebel. I smiled as he spread the sheets over me, the air billowing out around my body for a moment like a cool touch upon my skin. My heart fluttered as a feeling I had not known since I was very young washed over me, one of home and a love that felt unfettered. August brushed his hand tenderly across my forehead as he smoothed my hair back, and I tumbled into dreams. Small break in the story. I awoke to the afternoon sun, which had already begun her dance across the sky. Shadows and light flickered upon the bed as I sat up to find August lying beside me, asleep. I watched him with a quiet longing. His face lay serene against the pillows, his own humanity his own humanity delicately exposed before me. And we were doing so well, you know? August opened his eyes, the force of his gaze piercing through me with a look of such concentrated passion that it caused my heart to flutter. I slid my body on top of his, tasting the fullness of his lips, his skin like a hot burn against mine. I never thought I'd wake up to you beside me. Or wait, that was her. Jeepers. I never thought I'd wake up to you beside me. I breathed softly into his ear. He slowly ran his hands up my arms, but did not answer, only rolled me over onto my back and entered me with a hushed intensity, his thrusts fervent and uninhibited. The emotions that spilled from him were sudden and extreme, and they slammed into me with a force that unraveled my senses, pulling forth a heavy potency that filled the room with a shivering silence. We lay entangled in each other's arms, August's hands delicately tracing over the flush of my skin, with a look of quiet introspection on his face. Though his blissful haze of the last 12 hours, my life had filtered down to August and this room. But reality rushed in once more, like an acute shock to my system. I just remembered that I need to go into the office for a few hours today. He nodded quietly, a playful smile creeping across his face. Yes, but how are you going to do that, my dear? He rolled on top of me, gently nipping my neck and sending tantalizing shivers upon my skin. For I was the one who drove you here, remember? Oh, am I your prisoner then? I asked, my breath growing labored in arousal as his lips lazily traveled down my stomach. He stopped just above my sex, which was already aching for him again. Would you like to be? Maybe. I arched myself toward him, longing for his mouth on me, but he suddenly drew himself back up to my neck. God, you are such a tease, I moaned. He hovered over me, his eyes flashing with amusement. You can take my car if you would like. The keys are on the kitchen counter. August sat up, his gaze abruptly growing distant as he glanced out the window. There are some things I need to take care of here at the house. Another short pause, or short break, I should say. What did I miss here? Were you here for the scene that had him completely flustered, Jazz? I don't remember which one. I was too busy giggling. Yes. Oh, you clipped something? Oh, good. Not maybe. Never maybe. Damn woman. The sun slanted its lazy summer rays against the sidewalk as the ocean blew a warm breeze across my skin. I unlocked the door to the office and stepped inside, taking in the remnants of the night before. Emotions curled within me like a deep ache as I recalled the euphoric memories of his sudden return. I spent the remainder of the afternoon cleaning up the office and carting the sculptures that did not sell back to my apartment. I left Embrace standing by the desk to keep me company while I reluctantly drove myself into the payroll. Empty office cups. Wow, office cups? No. Empty coffee cups and takeout dispersed around me. I stood to stretch, my body humming in pleasure at the release of tension while I gazed out the window to see the sun setting upon the water. After a quick shower and a change of clothes, I drove back out to the bluff. I enjoyed the sleek interior of August's car, the silence of the engine and the soothing blue lights that lit up the dashboard. My mind settled around the reality of him in my life once more. The dance I had been accustomed to between us had shifted. The rhythm felt more fluid. August had returned to me, with his hands suddenly full of availability like beautiful offerings, and the possibilities of that stirred me with an exhilaration that made my heart race. Small glimmers of light off in the direction of the bluff danced across my vision as the darkness settled in upon the water, enclosing itself among the lapping waves. I rounded the bend and up the steep incline to his house. I suddenly gasped when I realized that the lights were the flickers of fire, deep orange and yellow flames which engulfed the house like an angry torch in the night. You know, I was just thinking to myself, things have been really too good to be true. Something has to come along. I was not expecting fire and stuff, but yeah. I raced up the driveway, accelerating hard. The wheels spun out on the loose gravel as my hands gripped the steering wheel, my heart hammering out a loud drumbeat within my chest. Jumping out of the car, I ran in the direction of the flames, screaming his name over the deafening roar. The heat hit me with a powerful force, rippling against my skin in waves. So many thoughts tore through my mind, clawing at my insides as I scanned the perimeters of the inferno in a blind panic, searching for August. But all I could make out was fire, smoke, and ash which fell around me like drifting snow. Then I saw him. In the distance, he stood on the edge of the cliff, a dark figure obscured by the leaping shadows of the flames. I ran to him and grabbed his arm roughly as relief flooded through me. August, what happened? He turned to me, a look of deep stillness upon his face as he spoke in a tender whisper. It is all right, Jezebel. He took me in his arms where I collapsed against the shelter of him, my breath spilling out in a shaky sigh. My legs were weak and trembling as the adrenaline began to subside. I didn't see you at first. I thought... August cut me off by drawing my face close to his. I am sorry I scared you. The reflection of the flames made his eyes dance wildly in the deep amber glow as his fingers traced my skin, sliding down my temples. My wife. She came to me in a dream last night. She did? Surprise caught me off guard as I struggled to connect the dots. Has she visited you before? August shook his head. No. I always hoped she would travel to me. But she never did. Until now. His eyes swam with tears as he looked out to the darkness of the sea for a moment. She had a message for me. It was time to let her go. This house was never really mine. It was hers. I glanced back toward the flames in confusion, watching as the fire hungrily devoured the house. Wait. You did this? He nodded slowly. I apologize for the theatrical display, but I needed this cleansing. Fire holds a very ancient power. When one is open, it has the incredible ability to purify. This is my rebirth, Jezebel. The sound of sirens off in the distance drew near as August pulled me close to him, wrapping me up in the encompassing safety of his warmth. He bent down, his hair brushing across my neck as the heat of his lips fell upon my skin, his voice like a whispered vow. I want to start a new life, and I would like it to be with you. My heart burst open, ready to take in all that he was offering me. I entwined my fingers through his, squeezing tight as my head settled against his chest. We watched the flames in silence as they danced violently against the night sky, mesmerized by the wild beauty of it. The crackle and hiss of life consuming itself as the fire twisted around the structure of the house, like two lovers locked in an embrace. And that, ladies and gentlemen, ends part 1 of the book. And I have lost my bookmark. What? Okay. You know, I'll find it later. That's fine. I think I'll find it later. Starting to bug me a little bit, but I can't find it now. But yes, thank you for that applause. Wow, 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 indeed. Jennifer, great book so far. Fantastic. Oh, I found it. It was camouflaged. Amazing story. You're not a dog ear, are you? No? No, I am not. I am going to be just a child in a candy store eager to find out what happens as part 2 begins. Can't wait. Really good stuff. We will continue this book on today's Sunday, right? Yeah. On Thursday. Oh, look at that. It's Thursday. No, do not give me a hint. You will... Well, I know we go back in time. It says that right on the page. It says right on the page, Jezebel, Part 2, Paris, France, 1720. But that's all I'm going to say. That is all you're getting. Because I'm not going to read anymore, and therefore you can't hear anymore. But if you want to hear more, Thursday night, 7 Central, we'll be right back here, continuing this pretty cool story. And Kay is dying. Kay, you're so dramatic. I really appreciate all of you being here tonight. I'm really glad you're enjoying this book. I hope I can still bring it justice. I have a feeling there were some parts that I read tonight which could have been accentuated a bit differently because of the moment or the type of dialogue that was happening, but I tried my best. I really did. Okay. It's been a long time since a book has grabbed me like this. Well, I'm glad it's grabbed you. The question is, where is it grabbing you? You know what I'm saying? Is it on the shoulders, the arms, somewhere else? I don't know. Where is it grabbing? I don't know. And honestly, no one but Nora Roberts has been able to do that. Wow. Jason, no. We know where it's grabbing. Cold shower awaits. Alright, let me find somebody we can raid real quick. And then we will call it an evening. Let's see. Can't see chat at the moment, so I will get back to you momentarily. We raided Carly last time. What's Carrington doing? I think he's doing the movie night stuff. Let's go raid my friends Here There Be Monsters. They're playing Stardew Valley. It's a very chill kind of stream for them. Oh, what did I miss? Jeez. Good God. Yeah, it's hard to nail the inflection unless you read it beforehand, so you're doing a pretty dang good job. Thanks, Jennifer. That means a lot to me. It really does. All these women. See you Thursday. The sexiness, the voice, it all works. Good night, y'all. See you Thursday. Yes, absolutely. Good night. I don't know why I keep pushing my mic away. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to get the raid up. Daddy. For those that want to come along, I appreciate it. If you have to head out, I totally understand. Thank you for being here. Thank you for, just enjoying this time with me. And I hope this week is a great week for you. Positive thoughts, positive energy, good vibes. Have a great week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And have a fantastic night.
Yard, different stenches bring different swarms. Feather roofs.